Good morning, everyone. Final Oscar predictions. To be honest, I almost didn't do this video because I like to put a lot of production value in the videos, and it's just, we're so crunched on time. So please excuse me if this video is a little bit more quick and dirty, but I did want to give you those Oscar predictions. So I'm just gonna rip through these categories. I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on the ones I think that are harder to call, but I don't want to waste a single second of your time, so let's just jump right into it. All right, so Best Picture. I already did my extensive experiment. If you haven't seen that video, watch my last video that predicts Best Picture. I'm gonna go with those results. I do think Sing Sing could easily get in there. I do think September 5 could get in there. I'm not underestimating it. And you know, when I say the race is close, I really mean it. The race is close. My experiment is definitely within the margin of error, so you really have to go with your gut. September 5 has a Golden Globe drama and PGA, and someone pointed out to me that that combination hardly, if ever, misses at Best Picture. So Sing Sing, I know that, you know, a lot of voters really didn't watch that film until recently, so it could have that last minute surge at the very end in that home stretch. BAFTA just went for Sing Sing in supporting actor, and screenplay. And Nickel Boy just feels a bit like Women Talking. It missed PGA, got BAFTA, nominated in screenplay. Lots of people probably avoided watching the film or just don't really understand the film. But amongst the few kind of art admirers, there is passion there. Nickel Boys is what I chose in the end for that 10th spot, but it is close. If you watch my last video, you'll see the results of my Best Picture. I don't want to waste too much time because you guys already saw that video, but basically the results of my experiment was who I'm going with for Best Picture. Let's move on to Best Actress. So, actress. We have actresses that have all four. We have the BAFTA, SAG, Critics' Choice, and Globes. Actresses that have all four: Demi Moore, Mikey Madison, Carla Sofia Coscone, Cynthia Erivo. So let's break down the options for that 10th spot. Since 2015, 4 times an actress got all 4 of those and miss Oscar nomination. That's Margot Robbie for Barbie, Viola Davis for Women King, Lady Gaga, House of Gucci, and Amy Adams for Arrival. And I hate to say it, but that does kind of fit the bill for Erivo to miss here. It's a big blockbuster film like those, so I wouldn't be shocked that Erivo misses here. But let's talk about the other contenders. Angelina Jolie missed BAFTA, missed SAG. I'm getting deja vu. This could be Spencer 2.0 with Kristen Stewart. I wouldn't be completely shocked if she gets in here, but there's just more appealing options on the table, in my opinion. Pamela Anderson, she got SAG, got Golden Globes. I don't want to completely underestimate Anderson, especially getting that SAG nomination. That's nothing to, laugh at. This could be very naiad, right? Could be Annette Bening. Then we have Marianne Jean-Baptiste and Fernanda Torres. And here's what it comes down to. So I got a powerful stat for you for Fernanda Torres. So Fernanda Torres, she won the Golden Globe Best Actress. And I was curious, what was the last time in the actress category that someone won the Globe's Best Drama Actress and then missed at the Oscars? You know how far you have to go back? You have to go back to 1988. And that year was a 3-way tie. So yeah, you have to go back a long way to find an actress that won at the Globes drama that did not get nominated at the Academy Awards. So, I know that she wasn't BAFTA longlisted. I don't care. I think Fernanda Torres is in. I think there's passion behind that performance. I see it in my comment section all the time. And I think the Globes win really put visibility on her. I know she was on Jimmy Kimmel the very next day. So yeah, I feel safe with her. Part of me is considering, seriously, taking out Erivo and putting in Torres and Baptiste, because I'm bound to get one of them. One of them is bound to get in. And at the end of the day, if you have hard truths and adapted, it makes sense to put Baptiste in there. However, hard truths, right? It's Bleecker Street, and that one really concerns me. So my final predictions are Madison, Moore, Gascon, Torres, and in that 5th spot I have Erivo. And I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Jolie or Baptiste. In some way, Erivo missing feels very Barbie, Margot Robbie and Barbie. It feels very Viola Davis and Women King, but in some ways, it kind of feels different too, because Wicked's like the biggest show on Broadway. Not a single person who has seen Wicked has come out and doesn't feel like Erivo really exceeded their expectations. of what they were hoping for. So I'm going to stick with the Revo at 5. All right, let's move on to actors. So actors that have all 4 major precursors: BAFTA, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, SAG: Adrian Brody, Timothy Chalamet, Coleman Domingo, Ralph Fiennes. So that leaves me with 1 spot, and that's Sebastian Stan, Hugh Grant, or Daniel Craig. So let's break this one down. So Daniel Craig, he got SAG, he got Golden Globes, he got Critics' Choice. Since 2015, there's only been 1 actor that scored all 3 of those and missed the Oscar, and that's James Franco for Disaster Artist. And I think we know why James Franco didn't get nominated that particular year. I think disaster refers to his awards campaign that year. So, but that being said, Hugh Grant has got BAFTA, Golden Globe, surprisingly got Critics' Choice scheduled 3. Since 2015, there's been 0 times that an actor scored all 3 of those and missed the Oscar. But with that being said, I'm just going in the theme with Heretic. I'm not a believer. I love Hugh Grant in that film, but I'm not a believer that he could really snag in that spot. So that leaves us with Sebastian Stan, which I think is the real threat to get in here. He's got Golden Globes, he got BAFTA. Clearly a big question mark with European groups kind of really digging it. American groups seem to be a little squeamish on nominating the Trump performance. So since 2015, there has been 5 times an actor that had Golden Globes and BAFTA, like Stan, went on to miss the Oscar. So the advantage Stan has is there's a supporting actor that could kind of go in with it, that's in contention with Jeremy Strong, and people are also just not loving Queer. They're not loving it. Ultimately, I'm just going to lean on the stats here. Like, if I went for Sebastian Stan, that would make BAFTA 5 for 5. And since 2015, BAFTA has only nominated all the eventual nominees 2 years. So yeah, my final prediction is Daniel Craig. All right, moving on to Best Supporting Actress. What a cluster, you know what. Ariana Grande, Zoe Saldana. They have all the 4 major precursors, so those 2 are as safe can be. But it's really, what are those last 3 spots? Qualley, Rossellini, Felicity Jones, Deadwyler, Gomez, Barbero, and Jamie Lee Curtis. So there's a lot on the table. We all know the pros and cons. So let me just break it down one by one quickly. If Qualley got BAFTA, I'd throw her in, but she missed. And that's really all I needed to really shake my faith, because I never totally understood, as incredible as she is, I never quite understood it. Selena Gomez, missing SAG, same thing. I think that was her chance. Missing SAG and making Oscar just doesn't really seem to add up to me. Barbero, she's clearly in a film that's on the rise, but she only got SAG, so I'm not really considering her too much. Since 2015, actresses that just got SAG and no other precursors, from my research, hasn't crossed over to the Oscars. Deadwyler, oh God, it breaks my heart that they overlooked her for Tilt. Piano Lesson was a movie that I knew SAG would probably like more than Oscars. Don't feel like she's gonna make it. So that's really just puts me with leaning towards Rossellini to get into that 3rd spot. It only missed SAG, but it got Globes, Critics' Choice, and BAFTA. Since 2015, there's only been 2 times that this combination has missed at the Oscars. So yeah, I don't know. One of those times was Claire Foy for The First Man. So as minimal as a performance as she is, I'm putting her in. And how great is that, by the way? How great is that? A supporting performance being recognized in supporting. That's great. So Rossellini would be in, and currently I only have 2 actors from SAG, and that can't do. The average is 4, so I need another SAG nominee at least. The odds lean in favor, I think, of Jamie Lee Curtis, who scored 2 most recent Guilds. If you have any 2 precursors, which I think a lot of these contenders do, SAG and BAFTA are the strongest, I would say. So yeah, there you go, Curtis. I put you in. Are you happy? So in my last position, I'm going to go against the on-paper odds here. I'm going to pick Felicity Jones. She has Globes, she's got BAFTA, and going with that theory that maybe The Brutalist could be this year's Power of the Dog or Roma, even though the Academy rejected the film in the end, in terms of acting, they both really overperformed on nomination morning. So get off the bench, Jones. Get on in that lineup. I believe in you. All right, Best Supporting Actor. Now this category is driving me crazy. I think this comes down to really one thing. Do you have Sing Sing in picture? Because if you have Sing Sing in picture, then Macklin should be in here. Because I'm of the belief that Macklin is more likely than Sing Sing in picture, because Sing Sing somehow missed that BAFTA long list, but magically made that BAFTA supporting actor a 5. So first I put in the actors, of course, that have the BAFTA, SAG, Critics' Choice, and Globes. I have Kieran Culkin, Yura Borisov, Edward Norton. But here's where we are fighting for that last 2 spots. 4th, I do have Guy Pearce. Yes, Guy Pearce missed SAG. Not great. Not good. But SAG clearly didn't love The Brutalist. He still got BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and Globes. So, stat coming your way. Looking it up since 2015, there's only been one time that this combination of BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and SAG has missed the Oscars. So, pop quiz. What recent-ish actor had all of those precursors, Globes, BAFTA, Critics' Choice, just like Guy Pearce did, and missed the Oscar in supporting? Timothée Chalamet for Beautiful Boy. And if there's going to be a snub on Oscar nomination morning in acting for The Brutalist, I think it's going to be Felicity Jones. I don't think it's going to be Guy Pearce. I like his chances here, so Pearce is definitely in at 4. So the question is that final spot: Strong, Macklin, or Denzel Washington? So I feel like Denzel in Gladiator 2, it's sinking a bit. I think he should have made SAG. And I just need to prioritize the movies that I think are a little bit more in that Best Picture conversation. So it's really between Macklin or Strong for me, and I am struggling with this. I am. I do think Macklin can make it in. I currently do not have Sing Sing in picture, so that is steering me in a certain direction, and it just doesn't feel right to have Macklin in supporting with Coleman Domingo being nominated. Also, with that possible screenplay nomination, that means I would have to put Sing Sing in picture. My narrative has to make sense at the end of the day. You got to be able to look at the whole predictions and go, yeah, this story makes sense. If Sing Sing is in your picture again, I would probably advise you to put Macklin in. I don't have Sing Sing in, so I'm going with Jeremy Strong, and that's my final answer. All right, so Best Director. So this season, I have been clinging on to this feeling in my stomach that Jacques Audiard will be the surprise snub on Oscar morning. And I'm just not on that train anymore. Well, I shouldn't call it a train, because a train implies that other people were on it. But I'm not on that skateboard anymore. I was waiting for DGA. Thought maybe DGA could snub him there, and that would start this little shaky faith of him missing it. But he's gotten everywhere, man. He's gotten the BAFTA, he got SAG, he got, Critics' Choice, he got Globes. There's no, my hands are practically tied at this point. I'm not really considering Mangold, really. Since 2015, nominees with just the DGA nomination and no other precursor has never gone on to be Oscar nominated. But in the same vein, Villeneuve missing DGA, that was a pretty big deal. I think he really, really needed that. The only way I can see him being nominated was if there was like this direct effort to apologize for snubbing him the first time. So in my 5th spot, that leaves Farja right there. She's right there. I know we can absolutely see a Kapadia or a Rasulov, because this directing category is always filled with surprises, which is why I love this category. I think it's one of my favorite categories of Oscars. I love seeing these massive snubs occasionally. It's so much fun. But Coralie Vajah, I think she's the safer option, and I think it's safer than going on a limb and saying, oh, I'm going to call a Kapadia at this point. And mark my words, I still have something in me that says that Audiard getting snubbed wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world to me. It would be the lowest rated Letterboxd scored film that a director got in for in a very long time. And something about it is just giving me Martin McDonagh 3 Billboards vibes. No one in a million years thought that 3 Billboards was going to get snubbed. But it's also giving me Joker vibes, in which got in too. So I don't know. Statistically, obviously, it makes no sense to snub Audiard. If there was some branch I can cling on to and be like, he missed this, then I would do it. But there's just no evidence that any group or guild is really ignoring Amelia Perez. They all seem to be going for it to a certain degree, at least strong enough to put Odiard in there. I just can't do it. So yeah, Baker, Corbett, or Corbet, Berger, Odiard, and Farjah. All right, so let's rip on to original screenplays. Screenplays that have all three: Critics' Choice, BAFTA, Globes. Honora, A Real Pain, The Brutalist, The Substance. Throwing all those in screenplay, those are in. Since 2015, there's been 3 times that an actor got all 3 of those and missed the Oscar nomination. One of those times was Mank, which is giving me Brutalist vibes. It is. So I would actually put The Brutalist in 4th. And the 5th spot, I'm really bouncing between, of course, what we're all probably bouncing between, Challengers or September 5. There is obviously a possibility of an All We Imagine as Light showing up here as kind of the worst person in the world type of nomination, or Hard Truths, similar to Sing Sing. If you have Macklin, Sing Sing should go in picture. If you have Baptisten, maybe you should consider putting this in your screenplay. But here's my thinking. So I got some big stats coming your way. So 18 out of the last 20 screenplay nominees were Best Picture nominated film. So my mind thinks, what is closer to Best Picture, Challengers or September 5? And I think it's September 5, right? 1, it scored PGA nomination, but also the Golden Globes nomination. And I think that gives September 5 a real edge. And another one, from my count, 19 out of the last 21 Best Drama nominated films at Globes got a screenplay nomination at the Oscars. September 5 has that Globes nomination for Best Film. So I'm going with September 5 in my last spot. I will be elated, filled with joy. I would love it if Challengers got in, and I could see a weird world where maybe both make it in, and maybe Brutalist is the one that actually gets the axe. But I'm sticking with the 4 that got all 3. Honora, Real Pain, Brutalist, Substance, and in that 5th spot, I am sticking in September 5. All right, moving on to adapted screenplay. And this is probably the category that has unnecessarily caused me the biggest headache in the world. So since 2015, only one time, a screenplay had Critics' Choice, BAFTA, and Globes, and missed the Oscar, which was Steve Jobs. So the only screenplay that has all 3 of those is Conclave and Amelia Perez. So I'm putting those in there immediately. But it's important to remember Globes combines that screenplay category. So Nickel Boys didn't get that Globes, but it got a BAFTA nomination. And I've always felt that Nickel Boys would be that potential Women Talking this year. And from my memory, Women Talking, I believe, missed PGA, like Nickel Boys, and then got nominated in Picture at the end of the day and adapted screenplay. And that's what I'm guessing Nickel Boys' path is. That's what I'm guessing its story is. And if Nickel Boys could be embraced by BAFTA, I think it's very safely in. So that's number 3. And then A Complete Unknown, I have that in 4th. It only has the BAFTA nomination. That is very concerning to me. Since 2015, there's only been 11 films with just the BAFTA nomination in screenplay and no other precursor, and 4 times only that has led to an Oscar nomination. But A Complete Unknown just really seems to be surging right now with DGA and the WGA nomination as well. So yeah, I do feel okay putting A Complete Unknown in that 4th spot. It's one of those nominations, though, that if they go, oh, it didn't get nominated, you'd be like, well, shoot, I kind of knew that deep down in my soul. But yeah, I just feel like this could be an easy one for A Complete Unknown to snag because it is surging right now. My 5th spot. I was really holding out for Dune 2. The reason why is when there's a Best Picture on the table, they usually go for a Best Picture option. Now, I remember 2 years ago, The Whale, like Sing Sing, had Critics' Choice. It had BAFTA. It was expected to get in. I think it was ranked number 2 on Gold Derby, but it was snubbed for Top Gun Maverick, a Best Picture contender. So I don't know. I keep going back to this conversation that we had with Oscar Forecast, and they brought up the first Lord of the Rings, got a lot of nominations, and that sequel severely underperformed when compared to that first and third one. And I think there's evidence that we're seeing that a little bit. I think he might be right. The first, Lord of the Rings got that screenplay nomination. Two Towers, it did not. So, it really shouldn't be that hard, but Dune just has Critics' Choice and WGA, and we really can't rely on WGA this year. Oh, gosh, I may be overthinking it. I still want to keep in Dune 2 for some weird reason. Okay, let me talk it through. Sing Sing. Critics' Choice, BAFTA, WGA, ineligible, but would have gotten in. So since 2015, there's 21 films that had that combination of Critics' Choice and BAFTA. All of them made it, except 6 times. And all of those times, they were not Best Picture nominated films. In fact, they were on the cusp of Best Picture, I would argue. The times that the combination Sing Sing has of Critics' Choice and BAFTA that did make it, 11 out of those 15 times they were Best Picture contenders. So I don't know if I lost you there. But what that's basically telling me is that oftentimes Best Picture movies have some sort of edge in this category. Dune 2, though, just Critics' Choice and WGA, which really doesn't matter that much this year. BAFTA nominated him in director. It did not get screenplay. So that would tell anyone with a brain that screenplay is very vulnerable, that his direction is more respected than his screenplay. And if he's not getting in director here at the Academy, then why the hell would he show up in screenplay? Anyone with a brain would know that. But luckily, I don't have a brain. So watch it be Wicked here. That'd be hilarious. Guys, I would advise you to choose Sing Sing. If I was your doctor, I would prescribe you Sing Sing, especially if you have it in picture. But I'm going to go on a little risk here. I do not have Sing Sing in picture, and I know Dune 2 is in picture. And looking at the films that just had the Critics' Choice and no BAFTA since 2015, 8 out of those 10 films that missed at the Oscars, which we're all expecting Dune to do, those films, though, were not Best Picture contenders. So I know that there is the Two Towers comparison. I think it's super, super valid. I should listen to people. Again, predict Sing Sing. Predict Sing Sing. I'm telling you to predict Sing Sing. If you want to get a good score, predict Sing Sing. But I'm going for Dune 2 unless someone in the comment section can convince me otherwise. I wouldn't be shocked by an I'm Still Here or an All We Imagine Is Light. I think, Fernanda being in and with that international film nomination, I think that could bring along a screenplay nomination. I'm not seeing enough evidence that that could happen, though, but I think it would be a delightful surprise. All right, moving on to editing. Honora, Conclave, Dune Part 2, those have all 3. They have Critics' Choice, BAFTA, and ACE, putting those right in there. Amelia Perez, it got the ACE and BAFTA. It's one of the big contenders of the year, and out of the last 8 years, there's been 11 films with just BAFTA and ACE, and 8 times out of those 11, that led to an Oscar nomination. So I feel ultimately pretty good about Perez, especially because it is such a big contender this year. So it's really that 5th spot. And the substance, man, and editing, that is so tempting. It's very tempting. I really wish BAFTA went for it because that would just make my life so easy. The Brutalist, I think we're seeing evidence that will likely not make editing because it's a longer film. It's been missing places. So I'm really bouncing between A Complete Unknown and Challengers. So what does Challengers have in its favor? Well, it rocks. It's an amazing movie. It also has ACE, has Critics' Choice. What does it have going against it? It's likely not going to be a Best Picture nominee, very likely. And editing heavily favors Best Picture contenders. And that puts A Complete Unknown right there, right? Best Picture contender. It feels very holdovers in terms of kind of peaking at the right time, in terms of that movie being very mellow. Honestly, I'm not going to overthink it, though. King Richard got this nomination The editing in Challengers can be very showy, and I think they might associate that fun music with the editing. And I say with a heavy heart, it will probably be a complete unknown or The Substance just to anger me. I would love it to be The Substance. But I'm going to go against the grain a bit. I'm going to go with Challengers. All right, moving on to cinematography. I'm going to move through these ones a lot quicker because I know you got places to be. So films that have Critics' Choice, BAFTA, ASC, Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu. Boom. It's in there. I have all those 4. So the American Society of Cinematographers. This year, for some reason, they give us 7 instead of 5. They want to make my life hard. We can't know for sure, but my inkling is that Wicked, which was nominated, I think that was last there. So really fighting for that last spot is A Complete Unknown, A Girl with the Needle, or Maria. And they all have pros, they all have cons. At this point, Girl with the Needle, it got the ASC Spotlight nomination, the same award nomination that the Lighthouse won as well. They got nominated at the Oscars. Black and white films often show up at the Oscars. But I don't know, I think there's a lot of other international films that are kind of taking the spotlight this year, and I don't know if Girl with the Needle is really floating to the top of the pile when it comes to international films to be recognized. Complete Unknown and Maria, they both have solo ASC nominations, so it's kind of difficult to decide between the two. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Maria. You know, Ed Lockman, Surprise for El Conde, had the ASC nomination, and I think it's a deserving nomination, so let's go with Maria. All right, let's move on to production design. Films that have all 3, Critics' Choice, BAFTA, ADG, Brutalist, Wicked, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, and Conclave. We have all 5 here. Gladiator 2, man, right there. I know they built the Colosseum, but ever since I heard about Conclave having to replicate the Vatican, that narrative is kind of taken shape a bit. I don't know how much the voters have heard about the narrative, but I think it's entering the space of, have you heard Conclave built the Vatican? It's something that is becoming a talking point within that film. My pause comes with Conclave being modern. You know, movies that are period pieces and fantasies dominate this category. The only modern movies with no fantasy or sci-fi elements that get in here, say since 2010, Parasite, The Father. One of those was a pandemic year, and the other one was Best Frickin' Picture. So in 14 years, 70 nominations, only 2 modern films. So that is something that I am, you know, kind of considering with Conclave. It's not something to scoff at. Gladiator 2 missed BAFTA, but guess what other movie missed BAFTA but got in at the Oscars? Napoleon. So with that being said, just to repeat, I don't think Conclave, you know, is a slam dunk. It hasn't missed anything though. And the 2 modern movies that I mentioned earlier, Parasite and, see, I'm showing my age here. I just mentioned it. Parasite and The Father, sorry. They didn't have all 3 of those guilds. So technically Conclave is actually stronger than those 2 films. So I'm going to stick with these 5, but I'm not really considering what a lot of people are considering with The Complete Unknown. It's a strong movie right now, but I don't think it can beat the Colosseum or the Vatican. So I do have Conclave in. Gladiator 2, would not be surprised if that got in instead. And then I guess I wouldn't be completely shocked by an outside chance of The Substance either, but I'm not highly considering. If The Substance gets in production, woo, it's going to be a good morning Substance, but I don't see it beating out Conclave or Gladiator 2. I really wouldn't be surprised at seeing a Alien Romulus nomination here as well. Okay, so costume design. 3 films have BAFTA, Costume Design Guild, and Critics' Choice. That's Conclave, Nosferatu, Wicked. So we have 4 films I'm considering for that final 2 spots. Since 2015, BAFTA has a 80% crossover with this category. A Complete Unknown has the BAFTA, but no Critics' Choice. And I was curious how many times a solo BAFTA-nominated film leads to an Oscar nomination. So since 2015, there's been 8 times this has happened, a solo BAFTA nomination, and that has led to an Oscar only 2 times. So The Ballad of Buster Scruggs was one of them, and Darkest Hour was one of them. So A Complete Unknown kind of reminds me of a film like Bohemian Rhapsody, right? Which got BAFTA, but missed Oscars. So I understand that the movie is surging right now, but I just do see this as one category that I don't think a complete unknown necessarily needs. So the other three options are Dune, Maria, and Gladiator 2. All have CDG and Critics' Choice. So previous years with a similar hand, Best Picture films are often favored. Not always, but often. So I'm going to put Maria on the outskirt because I don't think the costume design in that film is undeniable to the point where Maria is really fighting for a spot there. And I think the overall popularity of Maria kind of kills its chances a bit. So that really leaves me with Gladiator 2 once again and Dune 2, the two twos. So that's what I'm going to fill out my fourth and fifth spot with: Gladiator 2, Dune 2. All right, moving on to makeup and hairstyling. So we have The Substance, Nosferatu, Wicked. All three films got the makeup hairstyling guild, the BAFTA, and Critics' Choice. I feel pretty good about Emilia Perez. It's a very big movie this year. There's a transformation within the film. It also got in BAFTA and the Makeup Guild. So this really comes down to the last spot that can go in so many different directions. We got, Dune 2 right over here. It has Critics' Choice and BAFTA. We got Beetlejuice. I think it got 3 Makeup and Hairstyling Guild nominations and Critics' Choice nomination. And then we got A Different Man, which is just a very heavy makeup work. It's really prominent within the plot of the film as well, but it's going to probably be a lesser known movie. But again, who cares, right? Golda got in this category. Does lesser known really matter? I think this guild does go through these movies, look through all of them. It got the Makeup Guild and Critics' Choice nomination, but it wasn't BAFTA longlisted, which makes me lean back to Beetlejuice with that 3 MUAH nominations. I feel like I'm currently a little too heavy on Dune as is, and I do think this is one where Dune could miss. And yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna play it, I guess you can call it safe, with Beetlejuice, who also this category does tend to occasionally go for kind of a fantasy type film. So yeah, let's go with Beetlejuice. And also Beetlejuice performed just really well on the Oscar shortlist. So let's go with Beetlejuice. But I'm not totally sold completely. So if you know what I should put in my fifth spot for makeup, help me out with this. This is one category I definitely struggle with. So let me know in the comment section below which makeup one I should go with, but I'm leaning towards Beetlejuice. All right, so moving on to visual effects. Films that have the Critics' Choice, the VES, and BAFTA are Dune 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Better Man. Boom, those go right in there. All right, for the other two spots, let's look at BAFTA. In terms of accuracy, BAFTA, I would say, has the edge over Critics' Choice. So since 2015, BAFTA is actually rocking a 73% accuracy. And lately, they've typically been going like 4 for 5 for this category. So they also nominated Wicked and Gladiator. And I'm already predicting the other 3. So I feel like I should only pick one of these. And I have more faith in Gladiator, especially because Napoleon last year surprised in this category. And I think there's more effects, or it's a more effect-heavy film in Gladiator 2. So that is going to be my fourth spot. So for that final spot, that's the tricky one. Deadpool and Wolverine, right? You have that Marvel connection. Marvel's gotten into this category 7 out of the last 9 years. Twisters feels very reliant on the visual effects, kind of how Different Man is central. The makeup is central to that movie. Twisters is definitely central to Twisters. So ultimately, my heart is leading me towards Alien Romulus. It was longlisted at BAFTA. I remember it performed well on the Oscar shortlist. It has the VES nomination, and it's just very reminiscent of the first Alien movie. So there's that nostalgia that kind of comes into play, and the effects are fantastic. And when you kind of put that side by side with Wicked, even though Wicked is a big movie this year, I just don't know how this branch doesn't go with Alien over Wicked or something else. I have to go with just what I think makes sense. I think Alien fits the bill of something like, oh my gosh, a senior moment again. I'm on lack of sleep, guys. Help me out. Creator, thank you. No one helped me out, but I remembered finally. The creator. It does remind me of the creator. So yeah, let's go with the Alien Romulus. All right, sound. Films that got both BAFTA and the Cinema Audio Society: Dune 2, Wicked, Gladiator 2. So those are in, but from here, BAFTA and the Cinema Audio Society, they split. So BAFTA went for Blitz and Substance, and CAS went for Deadpool and Wolverine and A Complete Unknown. So from a quick look of BAFTA and Cinema Audio Society, they look pretty even in terms of crossing over the Oscar. They both got 14 out of the last 20. So I'm going to throw in A Complete Unknown into that fourth slot. I do think Alien could snag that fifth spot. I do think so, just like the creator did. The creator got visual effects and sound. However, I'm just going to probably play it safe here. I'm going to stick with Amelia Perez for that last spot. I don't feel great about it, though, because I do think that out of the musical films, I think Amelia Perez is not as impressive as the other two in terms of what they do with the recording of sound. And I feel like ultimately I have too many musicals in this category that I feel like maybe I should put an action movie in like Alien. Let's see. I'm just going to play it safe. I'm going to go with Amelia Perez. God help me. All right, original song, Amelia Perez's El Ma, Mi Camino, 6888, The Journey. I feel like we can really bank on these. The Wild Robot, Kiss the Sky, it's gotten everywhere it needs to, so that would be 4. The number 5 spot, I'm bouncing between just 2. I'm bouncing between Challengers, Compress, Repress, and Will and Harper Go West. And I'm not sure exactly what to do, but that Will and Harper song, I've always had an inkling this song can get nominated. It has been getting in a few places, got in at Critics' Choice, and the song was mentioned throughout the movie, and I think it turned out better, the song in that film, better than we all were expecting. Netflix has been pushing the song. I could see a world where Sing Sing gets in here, but I have Sing Sing missing a few categories. Globes clearly liked the music in Challengers, so that might just be a Globes thing, but the Compress Repress song has been doing very well, and Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, they're obviously beloved, but I really just have to go with the film that I think pulls the heartstrings a bit more. And I'm just going to go with Will and Harper. You know, a lot of people mention that this category is not very great this year, but that Will and Harper song is a pretty great song and is kind of emblematic, I feel like, of what this category is supposed to be. So I'm going to go with Will and Harper. All right, original score. So we have The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Challengers, The Wild Robot, and we have The Brutalist. We have 6 films, and we're trying to shove 5 in only, not 6. Which one's vulnerable? I think The Brutalist is safe. Conclave is safe. Amelia Perez, I think, is safe. Wild Robot could be this year's Spider-Verse, a film that the Academy doesn't take very seriously because it's animated. Personally, I don't really buy into that. I think the melody of Wild Robot is just very memorable. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's really going to be between Challengers or Nosferatu. And personally, I really lean towards more that Golden Globe winner more than the BAFTA nomination. So I am going to go with Challengers. And also that pairs up with my editing. It feels very good. If someone told me that at the end of the day, Challengers is going to get 2 nominations, editing, score, that makes kind of sense to me. All right, moving on to documentary. I am leaving out Will and Harper here because I know the doc branch does not go for celeb kind of leading docs like that. I went with No Other Land because it has a lot of documentary awards. I think that ends pretty safely, I would say. I have Netflix's Daughters. I think it just hits the balance of being accessible, important, tugs the heartstrings. I just think that's in. Netflix is behind it. Sugarcane, it's picked up a few prizes as well as the National Board Review for Best Documentary Film. So yeah, I feel as safe as I can feel with this category. That's very unpredictable, but I have Sugarcane in there. And fourth, I put Black Box Diaries. I remember this film from Sundance. It's very gripping. It's really well reviewed. So yeah, I do feel good about Black Box Diaries. And in fifth, I have Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. This has picked up a few prizes as well. The reviews are very fantastic. This is the category I try not to really overthink too much because I've overanalyzed this category before in the past and it really doesn't help me too much. So I typically just go for the buzzy titles and just accept my 3 out of 5 and just move on with my day. Animated feature. Another one I'm not gonna waste your time on. We've been seeing the same ones kind of repeat. I'm not afraid of a Moana 2. It could happen, but I'm not gonna predict it. So I have Wild Robot, Flow, Inside Out 2, Wallace and Gromit, and Memoir of a Snail. Let's not waste your time, let's move on. International film. Okay, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Seed of the Sacred Fig. Those I do feel pretty good about. Next, I have Girl with a Needle. I don't have this in cinematography, so that's one prediction that I'm making that I feel like doesn't quite add up completely. I do think that this film does have enough buzz though to maybe sneak in this category. I'm dying to see it. I've been searching in my area to see when it's gonna be around me, hopefully soon. In my 5th spot, I'm gonna do something a little crazy. I know I'm supposed to predict Kneecap. I know it was a big hit at BAFTA, but this film just really doesn't resemble the previous nominees to me. Just looking at them, it just doesn't fit the mold for me. I know also How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. I know that was a big hit as well, which has also an amazing title. I think a lot of times these titles really alone really can get in there. It has a lot of passion behind that film. But yeah, similar to Kneecap, for some reason that film doesn't quite fit this branch. So the one that really fits to me is Vermiglio. It still fits. And I believe that's the Golden Globes picks as well that I'm picking. And I'm sure one of these is bound to miss, but I can't decide which one it is. Maybe Vermiglio is the one to miss and maybe Kneecap gets in, but I just have more faith in a film like Vermiglio making this lineup based on the taste from previous years. And you gotta risk it sometimes to get a good score, so I'm risking it. I'm taking out Kneecap, putting in Vermiglio. I'm sticking with these 5. But that is basically all the categories. I just have the shorts. In terms of the shorts, please excuse me, I haven't had time to do the full deep dive in these categories. A friend of mine, Matt Downs on Fantasy Film Ball, he does a deep dive on these categories and has nearly seen all of them. So I'm gonna watch that video before I make my final predictions on these short categories. Or if you want, you can find me on Awards Expert on the app or on Twitter. I'm sure I'll be sharing my final predictions in these categories later. But anyways, that just about covers it. I gotta get this video up. Time is a ticking, but I'm also going to Sundance like tomorrow. And the first day of Sundance is Oscar nomination morning. So you might have to wait a tad longer for that Oscar nomination reaction video because I'm gonna try to edit it in between movies if I can. But other than that, what predictions do you guys think I should reconsider? Who are you hoping gets nominated on Oscar nomination morning? Feel free to follow me on Twitter or Instagram if you want. Subscribe if you want to see more Oscar related content. Thanks always for watching. But until next time, I will see you at the Oscars or Oscar nomination morning, which will be in like 2 days.